Oh,
Hey guys, so
sorry.
I'm
That's
back.
okay, Rich.
Hold on, let
You
me
have
turn the
no way
TV
of
down
knowing
too.
that. The poop under the Olive
Okay,
Garden
so
hangs.
I'm back.
Sure,
So
it
I
is.
just have
Delicious.
some
Hey,
noodles
Rich, want to pull up
and
the
some
chair?
iced
That's
tea.
okay. You got full
So
kitchen.
I told y'all
I'll just give
earlier
you
I
a
was
card.
gonna go ahead and talk to y'all about med eras. You know, med eras is what we're going to talk about today. So basically,
I love that place.
have you had a med era? Are you a new nurse and you're afraid you're going to make a med era? So we're going to talk about it today.
Could you give me a hand?
Okay, so basically, I'm gonna talk to y'all today about my med era, what I did, what you should do, and maybe ways to prevent yourself from having med era. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk to y'all while I'm eating this because I'm hungry right now. So, okay, so basically, it was just a regular day. I was working, I'm not at this job anymore for not because of the Met era. It was after the Met era, like a little after the Met era. Okay. It was, this thing hurting me, y'all. It's hurting me. So it was a little after the Met era that I wasn't there anymore. So it was just a regular day on the 7 to 3 shift. I had worked a couple of shifts by myself already, and I also had worked at a different nursing home. I was working at a different nursing home on the 3 to 11 shift. So it wasn't like I wasn't familiar with the med card or giving meds or anything like that. I wasn't that familiar with the residents, and that is a hard part of when you first start out somewhere, getting to know the residents, how they like their medication, when they want you to give them their medication, and all that kind of stuff. I was working on the opposite side of the hall that I didn't work on before. The regular nurse that had trained me, the regular floor nurse that works that floor, she was not there that day. She was off that day. So there was a regular CNA that had been there for a few years, and there was another nurse there. She had been working there for a long time. She was familiar with the facility. Me and her had worked together a couple times before, but mind you, like I said, the nurse that was training me, she was there during those times. So this place wasn't all that like super friendly to new nurses or to anybody. They was always short. It was always agency in the building. They was always coming, um, moving CNAs and nurses from one floor to another floor. They would come sometimes and ask me if I could be like the nurse for the floor and the CNA too, like stuff like that, crazy stuff. So I was working on the opposite hall, on the same floor, but the opposite hall that I hadn't really worked with those residents before. Now I'm at the end of my med pass. Everything's going fine. It was one person I need to figure out who she was and where she was. And so I was to ask the CNA if she knew who she was, if she could point her out to me. Um, the nurse was at the nursing station too. So I asked them if they could point them out to me. So they told me, oh, okay, she's over here in the wheelchair sitting by the window with like a blue shirt on, for instance, right? Okay. So um I go over there, you know, I had my blood pressure cuff, all that kind of stuff, because you need to get the vitals. This person was going to have like blood pressure medication, and they were going to have antipsychotics and stuff like that. Now, mind you, this person I was going to get the medication to, they get more than just the average amount of antipsychotics in one dose. This person got like, I think they were supposed to get like 3 or 4 pills. I can't remember what kind of medicine it was. but it was blood pressure medications, and then it was other medicines that weren't all that serious, like vitamin C, vitamin D, like something like that. So I went over, I looked, it was some other people over there too, and I see the person with, like, what did I say, blue shirt. I saw the person with the blue shirt, but I still wasn't sure. I asked the lady what her name was. She didn't respond, so I went back to the nurse's station and asked the CNA and the nurse again, and I asked them if they could walk me over to the lady to make sure I was going to the right person. They said, yeah, that's her. She's over there in the wheelchair. She's the only one over there that's in the wheelchair. I just came from over there. That's her, blah, blah, blah. So I went over to the lady again, and I call out the name. Error number one on my part. Just at all. I called the lady's name. Jane. Hi, Jane. How you doing today? I'm going to take your blood pressure. Oh, hi. How you doing, sweetheart? I'm fine. Blah, blah, blah. Now, see, that's error number one, because sometimes people, the residents are confused and stuff, and they will respond. They will respond to whatever name you call them. Sometimes they don't know, and sometimes it may be like their middle name or a part of their last name. They have a friend or a sister that name, and they just get confused sometimes. So on my end, I shouldn't have did that, and that's what I would say that you guys should not do. Um, Something was telling me just try and see if you can get the nurse just to walk over here just to lay eyes on the person and confirm it's that person. I don't know why I was feeling that way, but I'm always so scared of making a mad error. So I guess that's why I was thinking that way. So I went over there. I asked him again. Um, while I'm talking to I think I was talking to the CNA. The nurse had walked over, like to the little area by the door where they were saying the lady was and stuff, and came back. Yeah, that's her right there, the blue shirt, blah blah blah. So I'm confident now that I done asked them 3 times. I could tell they was like getting annoyed with me asking them and stuff. But look, they're not gonna stand there with you and protect your license, and they're not gonna, in no way possible, be able to get you another license. So whatever. I go over there. I give the lady the medication. From the corner of my eye, I see the nurse standing off to the side in that like entryway, crossing over to the other hall kind of thing. So I see her standing there, and she's like kind of watching me, just standing there. So when the lady finished the last of her pills, I'm walking over to the nurse and I ask her, "You need me for something?" And she says, "That's not Jane Smith." Oh, okay. Bitch, what? Excuse me. Okay, seriously. So I'm like, are you effing kidding me? So she stood there and let me give her all the pills and all that kind of stuff. She went back and checked. Oh yeah, that's her. Blah blah blah. Man, look, because first off, the pictures in the computer, they do not half the time look nothing like the residents, look nothing like the patients. And then the pictures that they have on the room door is like 20 years old. Like, come on, y'all. Y'all gotta do better than this. I go grab my blood pressure cuff and stuff. What you should do. First things first, assess the patient. Assess the patient. As soon as she said it, I grabbed my stuff. I went over to the lady. I asked her how she was feeling. I did a neuro check. I did her blood pressure. I did her pulse, and I did it manual. If I'm not mistaken, I also checked her sugar as well. I didn't give her any kind of like diabetic medication or any insulin or anything, but just a part of everything. I don't know what her because it was the wrong person, obviously. So I don't know what her medical history was. I wrote down all the medications that I had gave the lady. I wrote down the dose and I wrote down what it was for. Um, I wrote all that down. I wrote the time, like I said, the time and date. I went and let the charge nurse know. The charge nurse just called to the deal and to let her know, so everybody's on the same page. Everybody has knows what's going on, and also because it's reportable to the state. So I had to write an incident report and wrote down what happened. Every 15 minutes, I did a neural check. I checked the lady's vital signs. I wrote down also the first set of vitals that I took when I realized it was the wrong person. I wrote down how the resident was responding and what she was saying before I gave her the medication, during the time I was doing her vitals, and every 15 minutes in between when I did the neural checks and the vitals. I also wrote down how she looked, what her response was, if she was responding to me, how was she responding, was she speaking clearly. So I made notes of all those things, and by the time it came to do the report, I just added, just wrote everything in and that typed it all in into point click care, and that was a done deal. The lady ended up being okay. She didn't end up needing to go to the hospital. And they also said after that, they actually ended up putting her on blood pressure medication because her blood pressure actually was elevated, but I guess it wasn't being monitored on a regular basis, or it was constantly out of range. So maybe that also brought some attention to her blood pressure. So she ended up going on a blood pressure medication. But she ended up being fine. She didn't need to go to the hospital or anything. Um, so when the doctor came in the next day, they just came to her and checked her out and, everything. So, y'all, what they say is if you're not sure, you don't know the resident, you can always ask somebody that works there. Okay, if that's what they said, which is true. But see, that's the thing. You can't count on people actually telling you the truth and being honest with you, or the whole nurses eat their young thing and all that type of stuff. It's actually really true. So you can't put 100% trust in that just because they know those residents. They don't have to tell you. They could tell you whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still going to fall on your license. So what I would suggest, and I thought that was something that I could always rely on, but you can't. So what I would suggest is, if you have to ask who a resident is, you ask somebody on your floor or something, you try to look in the computer at the picture. If they have pictures on the door, you try to do that part. Um, some residents are a little more with it than others. It comes down to it that you have to ask someone that works there. I would ask the nurse or CNA or something like that. But then I would go somewhere else and ask someone else too. Now, if they are they saying that's the same person, then I would kind of trust it. But if yeah, like the CNA and the nurse were, they were the two that were gonna sit back and bullshit around and not give a fuck if something happened or didn't. But they were those type. They got their work done, but they took their time getting it done, or they just did their own thing. They ain't give a crap about hearing about a new nurse or nothing. Okay, so I would say go ask somebody on one floor, go to another floor, ask somebody else, or go on another hall and ask somebody else. Don't just take the word of one person or a little group of people just standing right here, because I thought I could, and that's how it ended up happening for me. I did not end up having to do like any kind of hearing or get in trouble or get a write up or anything like that because of the Met era. Nothing like that, or any kind of retraining or anything. I mean, because really, if they wanted, they could look back on the cameras and see how many times I went to the lady and I went back to the desk asking and trying to be sure. So that right there, regardless of how it happened, whose fault it was or wasn't or whatever, a mad error is still a mad error. End up asking who somebody is. Ask a couple different people. Don't ask two people that's standing there together because one might disagree with the other. They might not have good intentions. Who knows? But yeah. As far as that, that's how that is. And also that same place, I ended up not being there anymore because it was so ghetto, y'all. It was so ghetto. And the the last straw for me kind of was like you guys know, I'm a newer nurse. I had a I was working on a rehab floor. I had worked on the rehab floor maybe about 5 or 6 times. So I was starting to get pretty comfortable on the rehab floor and looking forward to, experiencing different things. But this particular time, I was on a rehab floor. It was a lady that had breast cancer, and so she had like a huge wound with drainage and stuff like that that needed to be changed. Had any deep wounds that I actually needed to clean and pack and dress. That's what I'm trying to say. So this was one of those wounds. So I asked somebody, and I was like, "Oh, she hadn't done that before. Somebody else usually does it. Just call the supervisor, let them know you don't know how to do it, and he'll come down and help you." Because that nurse wasn't able to help me. The supervisor, he wasn't answering. He wasn't coming down. So I asked the third nurse that was on the floor, and she was like, "Just tell them to write you up. Don't change it." Okay, what? So she's like, "Yeah, I always tell him to just write me up because I'm not doing that. I'm not touching that. I'm not changing it. It smells so bad." And, all. And I'm thinking, like, this is so dumb. So I told her, "Is there any way that while I'm doing it, you can just watch me or just tell me what supplies to get? Just stand off to the side, walk me through it, something." But yeah, after that, I was just like, "Forget it. Like this, we good. We all the way good." Another tip I would give as far as helping to prevent a med era. What I started doing after that happened, we're going through report, right? So I'm laying eyes on that person, but what I'm also doing is I'm writing down, okay, I'm remembering what the person looks like, right? So I'm writing down next to James Smith, black pants, pink shirt, yellow sneakers, orange socks, whatever it is. I'm writing down a whole description of what she's actually wearing. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next. And the next one will be my first 6 months experience as a nurse and my experience coming into the nursing world as a new nurse during COVID. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next one.